good today. Does this water taste good? Where do you think water comes from anyways, puppy?
Hey, Naomi.
Hi, Mr. Oakley. Didn't see you there. Do you know how this water gets here?
That's a good question. Clean water matters to all of us. It's part of everyday life here in Jamestown. I don't have all the answers, but I know the people who do, and they take that responsibility seriously. You should talk to Mr. Flory at the water plant.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Oakley. Bye, Sadie Mae.
Hello, you must be Naomi. I hear you have some questions about our water.
I'm just confused how the water gets cleaned.
Okay, clean water is a big job. Let me show you how it works. Come on. It works best when we work together and hold ourselves to high standards. So you kind of see, see how these particles right here are kind of rising up? I work with a lot of people to make it happen in Jamestown and in nearby towns and cities. We test it all the time at multiple points in the process. We follow strict rules and we plan ahead so we're ready for what's next. We've been working to address forever chemicals for quite a while now.
You mean PFAS? We learned about that in science class.
Yeah, PFAS. It's a nationwide issue. Communities everywhere are working on it, and so are we. We're studying different treatment methods and learning what works best, carefully, deliberately, and with the future in mind.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but we all care about Jamestown, and we all want clean drinking water. You know, the work I do is not only for the community. I drink this water too, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it's fresh and safe.
Who else helps?
All kinds of people. Engineers like me, water plant operators, lab techs, repair crews, scientists, and all of our public works staff. Everyone has a role. You know what? You should meet Miss Skinner. She's over at the municipal building. I'll let her know you're coming.
Hi, Mr. Floyd said I should come meet you.
I'm Jessica. I work for the town of Jamestown. I'm one of the people residents see when they come in.
What do you do?
We help residents navigate public services such as water and sewer, garbage and recycling. Lots of people play a part. Like Garrett here, he's one of our water specialists.
I'm one of the people who helps keep the water system running day to day and make sure it stays strong over time so that we all have fresh, clean water.
We're always working to improve our water systems. When you pay your water bill, you're supporting that work. And you know what else, Naomi? We're always here to help.
Because clean water is for everybody.
That's right, for everybody.
Even for pets?
Especially for pets.
So that's how it works.
Sounds like a pretty good system.
Whoa, all that just to give Sadie Mae a drink of clean water.
Well, Sadie Mae loves fresh water, and somebody's got to keep her happy.
If anyone ever has any questions, we want them to ask so that everyone understands how our water works.
All righty. Let's have a roll call, please. Okay. Councilmember Glanville.
Here.
Councilmember Gibson.
Here.
Mayor Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Burgess. Here. Councilmember Westmoreland.
Here.
A quorum is present. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's observe a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right. Has everyone had a chance to look over the agenda and let me know if there's anything that needs to be added or deleted?
Madam Mayor, there's one item at the end of this agenda that probably needs to be slightly modified. It's under the closed session announcement. I noticed from our working paper that we've added "and a personnel matter" to this as well. So just to be considered consistent, we should probably have that line item read "closed session per NCGS 143-318-11A3 to consult with the town attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the town attorney and the town council, and to discuss a personnel matter."
Is that a motion?
Yeah, it's on this agenda, it's just not on this one, that's all.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I didn't know if it was a motion.
Yes, motion.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. We'll add that. Anything else?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. And now we'll move on to the, let's see, the consent agenda. Approve it, I guess. Had the approval of the minutes and the proclamation and, the Memorial Day celebration. I've got that's 11 o'clock Monday so we'll read the proclamation over at the Ren Miller Park. And the financial documents. All righty, motion to approve our consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And so I think now we are ready to move into the featured event here. Public comment.
Martha Wolf. Hey, I am Martha Wolf, and I live in Jamestown. Regarding the resolution supporting and protecting immigrant communities through the Jamestown Fourth Amendment Declaration, I just wanted to think we need to remember that local government is granted its authority by the State General Assembly, and local government does not have the authority over immigration or other law enforcement policies. Those are out of state and federal issues. So local government, we need to remember, is a nonpartisan entity and should stay focused on the business of the town of which you do have authority and control, or some control anyway. But it's not about the content of the resolution, but about what local government actually has the authority to govern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
James Ortiz.
Good evening, City Council. My name is James Ortiz, and I'm working with Triad Advocates, Jesse Lopez, to discuss this Fourth Amendment resolution. It was proposed last meeting, and it's on the agenda for this meeting as well. Jesse was unable to make this meeting, so I'm speaking on his behalf. As we near the 250th anniversary of the United States, it is important to remember the rights that the nation was founded on. Recently, some of those rights have been infringed upon by the federal government, or at the very least questioned. The Fourth Amendment resolution will proclaim the rights of citizens of Jamestown and remind them they can say no to warrantless searches by local or federal law enforcement. This resolution will protect people of all backgrounds, including the growing immigrant population in Jamestown. The Fourth Amendment is within the Constitution. It's not overstepping any bounds set by the state or federal government, and I think that it would give peace and security to all the members of Jamestown. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Cookie Billings.
Mayor and Council. I left the budget meeting last week deeply frustrated by the town council's actions. By refusing the professional guidance of their finance officer and town manager, the council is in the process of burning a bridge we will regret. Our town council should never try to balance a budget on the back of its loyal employees. Immediately following the May 12th budget meeting, I asked Mr. Westmoreland about his reasoning for cutting undesignated reserves and whether staff had explained their use. He was unable to provide an answer and instead directed me to ask the manager. I asked him if he made the motion, he should defend it. He just turned and walked away. To me, his response demonstrated his lack of understanding about the purpose of undesignated reserves, and he simply could not defend his position when confronted by my simple question. I would not advise anyone to run for a small little town council elected official role after only 4 months to come in and second guess an experienced town manager and finance officer by drastically cutting the proposed budget. Yet that's what our town council accomplished last week. With no discussion, questions, or debate, you made disastrous financial decisions in one comprehensive vote. What we witnessed was a political grandstanding by Councilman Westmoreland, aimed at pleasing a specific political base that negotiating with colleagues. When a motion is made, seconded, and unanimously approved without debate or questions during a brief council meeting, it raises concerns that the decision may have been discussed privately away from public scrutiny. It also suggests either a lack of understanding among council members about the long-term consequences of these cuts or a disregard for their effects on employees, emergency response capabilities, and relationships with valued partners. Our town manager has deep knowledge of the town's history, budget, operations, and planning since 2005. His tenure, I believe, he has personally secured more grant funding than the town has paid for his salary. The old council minutes could document this. And Mayor, I raised the existence of the town's minutes and the history of them to you during a public comment session in February. It is public knowledge the town is legally required to safeguard the minutes. Mayor, you should know that. I believe he has personally secured, I believe the public knowledge it's legally required. You may call the office and make an appointment to review the minutes in the office back to 1947, and that's as far back as they exist.
Thank you.
Charles Hensley.
Good evening, Council. My name is Charles Hensley, and I'm here briefly just to see if I'm hoping to get a response from the 3 questions that I asked at the last meeting. I don't know if this is the form that it will be conducted in, but that's what I'm hoping happens this evening. Are y'all prepared to provide that response?
Yes, we are. Would you like me to read all 4 pages out loud, or would you like a copy to take with you?
Well, one, it's not just for my benefit, so I would
understand
certainly
that, yeah.
like to have a copy, but if it's 4 pages, I don't know how long that would take, but I certainly would like for the public, the citizens also, to hear what the responses
Absolutely.
are.
What would y'all like to do? Shall we? What's that?
Some highlights of it or something.
Oh, well, yeah, but right now or after public comments?
Whatever is appropriate.
Okay,
Let's do it right after.
right after, okay.
All right, thank you.
Cheryl Harvey.
Hey, I'm Cheryl Harvey. I'm the one that sent you guys a email after the last meeting about the Yellow House, okay? I stand by what I said. After the mayor and I talked on the 28th, I found an email from Matt Johnson, who informed me that as a result of the code enforcement conducted on site, the visit earlier that day performed a full inspection of the interior. As part of the review, each room was documented photographically. Based on that inspection, there was no evidence to indicate that the structure is being used as a residence or any form of occupancy. As a result, the matter is being closed at the staff level. That was before I talked to you, and after we saw the email that was online from Chance Walters saying that it was a residential facility, okay? I thought I would hear back from Madam Mayor or somebody, but I have not. And I continue to ride by there when I leave my job late at night, and until the last night, the lights were on, but I didn't see a TV on or people. But there's a car there whenever I work late at night, there's always the same car there parked over next to the woods that is there overnight. I would like to have a response about what you found out, or am I supposed to just accept the fact that Matt Johnson wrote me that note saying that it had been terminated?
Are we going to talk about this?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Harvey. Matthew, I think Matthew and I spoke last week, and he advised that he was working on it. Sir?
Okay.
Thank you.
But I mean, it's obvious that it was used for residential because it was posted online, that's in fact what it was for. I don't know how they could determine that it was not a residential when they're advertising it as such and it's an ongoing issue. Okay? So I just would like to hear a response or what's going on or what y'all have done, because my biggest concern is that nobody here except the mayor is here late at night to see what in fact is going on after midnight. Because, I mean, if you go home at 5 o'clock, you have no idea what's going on here in town, because y'all can ride by late at night the same as I can and see the activity, the heads in there, the TV's on. And I think we need to have people staff members that can be here when we're needed late at night. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, would you be able to provide the council with an update at your earliest convenience?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
John Capes.
John Capes, resident of Jamestown, currently serving as vice chair on the planning board. Previously on the council for 3 terms, 6 years, felt like 12. A couple of things come to mind. First and foremost is that public comments, just to clarify this, is not engage the council. We come up and we talk, and y'all are expected to talk back. You're supposed to listen and let the people talk. If they don't understand that, please explain that, Madam Mayor. When you begin these things, it'll be a lot easier for you than feeling put on the spot and have these situations where you're being engaged, you're being engaged, you're being engaged. Realistically, you're just supposed to sit there and let the person speak, okay? You're not under any other obligation. That said, and that was 40 seconds. The last meeting, I've never in my time, I've never seen a 30-minute budget meeting. I've never seen a motion that was made that was pre-printed that was not discussed during the budget meeting. I thought that was amazing. I was like, my God, you must have psychic implants. How does this work? That's fantastic. I don't understand how we can justify taking well over $600,000 out of the general fund. I'm just going to say it here and now. We're going to end up in a deficit. I'll talk more about that during the public comments. But the thing that disturbs me the most is that there is a total failure to address and service the business of Jamestown. There's a lot of posturing. You complimented Jim for his excellent city management when the town manager's here with lots of knowledge. Yeah, it's on tape. You can watch it. You act like he's got all the answers when he served for 4 years in a situation that was at a deficit the entire time. This town has not been at a deficit, but we will be by the end of this budget here. You can take that to the bank, and you're going to be wrong. And the thing is, and this is the most important thing, you're going to run off quality staff. You've hired top talent. You got a great team. You know what you're going to get after this? You're going to get temporary people. You know what you're going to get then? You're going to hide the money. Because guess what? That's easy to push under different funds. But you know what the worst thing is? In 2030, and I've only got about 50 seconds left, so bear with me. I'm going to do this and try and do it in one breath. In 2030, this population is going to go by about 2,000 people minimum, okay? That's a 50% increase. And you know what's going to happen? We're not going to have, I'm not done yet. Madam Mayor, I'm talking to you. We don't have the infrastructure left yet. The infrastructure's not there. okay? We're not gonna take care of the firehouse because that's gonna be $10 million, don't have that planned out. We're gonna alienate the sheriff's department. We're gonna do all these wonderful things because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And yes, I am still talking to you, Madam Mayor.
I think you're out of order. You're
No,
supposed to address the council, not
I can
an
address
individual.
anybody on the council I want to as a public comment. Look it up. We have all these wonderful policies. You should read some of them. Have a nice day. I'm done.
Nobody else signed up.
Mr. Kate.
I see you there.
It's all right.
Yeah, calm down. Goodness gracious. Anybody else? Okay. Mr. Hensley. So the three questions that you presented us with, what new strategies have we implemented for changing the direction of leadership from the previous council? What practices or policies have we changed or plan to change and why? And number three, what is the most significant issue or concern that we're working on to correct or to improve? I'm going to take questions 1 and 2 together and answer them by comparing our strategic plan focus areas. Developing this plan was the first big work-intensive thing that we did as a new council, and it involved hundreds of hours of individual discussions, 2 all-day public sessions in January, a second public meeting with the staff, and then more discussions. But our goals and priorities resulted in 7 focus areas: resource stewardship, amenities, communication, public health and safety, infrastructure resiliency, Main Street and economic development, and staff excellence. The previous council's strategic goals and priorities 1 year ago comprised 5 focus areas: outreach and involvement, public safety, infrastructure and facilities, planning and development, staff excellence. A lot of these words are similar, but there's some differences. Our council's communication focus is to improve transparency, citizen engagement, and understanding of town operations, improve access to public records and public information. And in addition to the traditional channels, which the town website, the town Facebook, and Jamestown News, we're also doing this with a more robust use of our own personal social media, digital, and outreach opportunities in person to share meeting announcements, information on agenda items, links and event photos, public notices, and to get input and feedback from citizens and our community partners. One of our goals is to hire a full-time public information officer, but the budget currently does not allow that. The former council's focus area of outreach and involvement is probably closest to this category of ours. There are specific goals in this area a year ago related to promoting Jamestown with events, music in the park, marketing, and increasing resident involvement in town matters through social media, prioritizing residents for job openings, and implementing a citizen academy, which they did. So far, externally, community events, we have attended a number of these. I could sit here and list them all. I've got a short list, but Pam spoke at the State Garden meeting, I think 2 days ago. I attended the GTCC graduation and really enjoyed helping with that the other day. Let's see, removing ivy off the tree with a group that you got together from several different organizations. Several events at Pennyburn anyway. It goes on and on. Invite us if you're having an event, if you're having a business opening, a ribbon cutting. We enjoy these things. Resource stewardship, we see it as a very important primary goal to tighten the town's spending and reduce the burden on taxpayers, provide more financial oversight, and that includes reviewing town, county, and municipal tax contracts, assessments, and valuations. Some of that we have done and had some success with. Reviewing town service agreements and contracts, again, kind of just getting started there. Expanding efforts to identify external funding and grant sources. I've had at least 2 individuals from representing different organizations come to me and say, we have some money waiting for you if y'all want to sit down with us and talk about it. I'm sure there's more out there. The goal is to grow the tax base while reducing the tax burden on residents and slowing utility fee increases. To that end, as we said in the budget thus far, we've kept The tax rate, we've lowered the tax rate. Jim will talk about that later. Vehicle fees, we killed the AMI meter project because the town is just not in a position yet. I don't think that it's been studied enough personally, but we put it off for a year. We did our own review and reporting of water rates and did find that Jamestown's public water system is among the lowest priced in the state. Made direct contact with the Guilford County Tax Commission and, ended up on Fox 8, but that's something else. Property taxes, yeah. Okay, and then for amenities, for our council, this is the category we put all the things that make Jamestown a nice place to live and visit. Our focus areas include providing meaningful, high-quality amenities and programming to the citizens, support initiatives that showcase our social, cultural, and historic heritage, connectivity, sidewalks. We've also had a couple conversations with the Deep River Trail System Director, the state director, whom that is, and had some wonderful visioning about what could possibly be done with the Blueways and Trailways in Deep River, and are continuing that. Let's see. Continuing to support Music in the Park, holiday events, veterans events, historic events. America 250 is a whole new outreach and task that Councilwoman Burgess is handling. We've been to several Jamestown Historic Society meetings to hear about the new plans that they are putting into effect and how we're going to try and figure out how we're going to support that or participate. We funded some of our nonprofits again. We've reached out to the FIFA soccer organization about the Norway team coming and are still trying to get them to come into town for some munchies and events and music. Let's see, and again, promoting it all on social media and marketing the best that we can. We haven't gotten into official, formal marketing efforts yet, but I know that's a big goal. Public health and safety, in that category, we added water as a category, water quality, since that's health, and we wrote it up originally as providing support and resources to community partners, organizations, and public utility partners that work to ensure the safety, security, and health of our citizens. Pinecroft, Sedgefield Fire Department, the Sheriff, EMS, PTRWA. Our goal is to expand some of the code enforcement beyond residential into some of these abandoned properties and contaminated sites and just unkept properties. But again, that's on the horizon. Support environmental and public health programming, street and pedestrian and traffic safety. We have had ongoing discussions with the Guilford County Sheriffs and Pinecroft Sedgefield about the current contracts, a lot of discussions, and the town's involvement. We want to be involved in all future contract negotiations, which would be new. Ongoing discussions with Greg and PTRWA about upgrades to the water plant down at Randleman. PFAS and filtration, we have continued to talk with the Deep River Caper. That organization is now 1.5 years old. And I'm actually, we're starting to talk with them about, I am here for Stephanie and her crew about once a week, and they've done a lot, but are going to do a lot more to help us out. Let's see what else. Traffic monitoring, speeding, the traffic lights. I feel like we've gotten more coverage in town for that. I don't know how others feel about it. Let's see, the Deep River Keeper and the stream testing. There's some great reports that came out of her first year about the state of Bull Run and Deep River as they run through town and what's going on there. They're being assisted by the Duke University Superfund Center, and we have some really great data already and expect to have a lot more. The Jamestown, the Citizen Air Monitoring Project that I oversaw for the past year just wrapped, and the EPA is waiting on me to finish this budget and talk to them and give the final report about the increased amount of particulate matter in the air. It increased slightly over the year and consistently, but not as much as we thought it would, which is that's a good thing. Let's see here. The prior council, by comparison, a year ago, their category was focused on installing security measures at town facilities, parks maintenance facilities, and town hall, and to continue to develop plans to improve public safety in the town of Jamestown. This is not to diminish anything that they've done. It's just they were a couple years into it and had a shorter list, and we're just getting started and have a very long list. Infrastructure resiliency. The current council describes this as supporting maintenance upgrades and regulatory compliance with respect to drinking water, stormwater, flood control, wastewater, sewer systems, and roads. One goal, a big one, is to review, update, and publish updated maps. Let's see, the FEMA, the floodplain map. We'll talk about that later. That's just come in across my desk. And updates to the land development ordinance to reflect changes, annexations, current regulations, and current watershed and water body classifications. We had some outstanding questions that finally got clarified with answers from the Department of Water Resources about inconsistencies between the Random and watershed rules and what's in our ordinances. And that's some good new information that's already proven itself to be very useful, but took a couple years to get it. Let's see. More information on the flood insurance. Yeah, okay. The prior council titled this same category infrastructure and facilities with the specific goals to include a plan to implement government-mandated stormwater regulations, replace golf irrigation, cart paths, and bunkers, Pinecraft Sedgefield Fire Station renovation, boost internet at town facilities, update the Civic Center facility rental policy, and the town bidding process, expand parking lot at the park. This council's planning and economic development focus started on Main Street with the development of an economic vision and long-term master plan, something that clarifies exactly how we would like to see Jamestown grow and what it looks like, a few years from now. The specifics would include an assessment of abandoned and contaminated sites for possible reuse and enforcement, improving the business district appearance, developing a Main Street style guide, increasing outreach and services with and to the existing business community and prospective businesses, increasing regular maintenance and roadside trash pickup of Main Street District and the key roadways into town. Some of this has started and we've had success with and met with a lot of business people in town in different situations. We have, promoting and attended several new openings. We bought a big giant pair of scissors for ribbon cutting, which was a grand time. Enjoyed that totally. And the prior council's planning and development area of focus is to implement a broad program of community planning, development, and land management through zoning with an added goal of reviewing historic assets, creating plans to preserve and protect them. We also approved a Main Street study, not the big Main Street study, but a shorter term, something we can get into right away.
Excuse me, Mayor, you're going to read, how much more do we need to?
One more. And then staff excellence. Yeah, our council defines this area as improving the administration of town government, defining job expectation, annual reviews of management and department heads, review all operational, organizational, statutory, and personnel policies, especially policies. Prior council staff excellence focus area was to attract, develop, and retain staff with the goals of providing customer service training, which they did, updating the town website to expand functionality, and improving administration of the town government by updating the purchasing policy. And then we'll end with question 3. What's the most significant issue or concern that you're working on to correct or to improve? It changes from week to week, sometimes day to day, depending on the calendar, the unexpected events and deadlines, statutory deadlines. But as a governing body right now, the top issue that we are focused on is finalizing this budget, and one that we can all vote yes on. And I'm happy to give you a copy of this if you'd like and talk more with you privately if you want. Okey-doke. Monthly reports. We'll start with town manager.
Well, good evening, council. I would like to thank our planning and Parks and Recreation staff members for their participation and coordination of our annual Arbor Day event. The event was held this year at Jamestown Park and included the planting of 2 new trees near the new playground. That event was made even more enjoyable by having some children participate and coloring a picture. Those pictures are now on display in Town Hall in the foyer. They did receive a complimentary Kona Ice. We do appreciate Kona Ice for contributing that. And they got to meet our local North Carolina Forestry Service Ranger. This year marks our 18th year as a Tree City USA awardee. Public Services staff have installed 2 new solar-powered speed signs along Guilford Road, and we believe that has been handy in helping motorists be more aware of their speed along the corridor. Some of you may have noticed that the settings was it was flash no matter what your speed was. That has been corrected so that it will flash when you go over 35 miles an hour. So thank you to our Public Services staff for installing that. Council members Glanville, Gibson, and Burgess attended the North Carolina League of Municipalities City Vision Conference in Raleigh last week. Councilmember Burgess received a certificate of municipal achievement for completing at least 12 hours of specialized training through the Advancing Municipal Leaders Program. So please extend your congratulations to her for that continued commitment to professional development and public services. That's all I have, unless you have specific questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did it ever dry out?
Any council members have committee reports to share with us?
I just had a real quick one. So at our last High Point Urban Area MPO TAC meeting, our TAC adopted a resolution supporting the PTRC Comprehensive Transportation Safety Action Plan. That's a mouthful. That we adopted at our last meeting. So the good news is the MPOs adopted it. The better news is we were actually the first town or municipality to actually adopt a resolution supporting that. As you all know, traffic safety, transportation safety is a passion of mine, and I do appreciate it again for that purpose. I also had an opportunity to talk with our local Division 7 traffic engineer, actually Division Engineer Wright Archer, and we have a couple of different projects that are listed on the regional MTIP list that we need to coordinate with them on and get updated based off of sidewalk projects, and then there's still somewhat of a mystery Norfolk Southern track siding project that's on the books, but nobody really knows about yet, that we're trying to find out more information. So our next meeting, the May meeting was canceled. The next meeting will be June the 23rd at 10 o'clock in the morning at the High Point History Museum. Again, anybody who would like to attend and learn more about transportation certainly would encourage you to come out to those meetings and understand things dynamically that are going on and how you can be involved. So thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Recs did not meet in May, however, are expected to meet in June 1st. So no other committee reports.
The schools in the Guilford County School Board, we did not meet formally. We just had conversations about still continuing to try and promote the Guilford County schools to the new development up at Johnson Farm. And fortunately, a little bit of time is on our side because there's not anybody living there yet. So we're still kind of putting together information about how to promote the public school system to all of our new residents in Jamestown. And that's just something that the schools are coming up with individual information about them to promote themselves, as well as the school district giving information about what opportunities that they have there as well. So those are the big things, and I think we have a student here for reports, so I won't steal any thunder. I'll just stop there at that point, but thank you.
Thank you. And just to add, look, I'm not trying to steal Jim's thunder now, but just to add, for those who are unaware, Jamestown Middle School and Ragsdale High School are under-enrolled, so that's why we would like to promote our public schools to new residents, because we would like them to not be under-enrolled and then risk, situations that happen with that. So, wow. Then they did have a planning board meeting last Monday. It was to discuss the rezoning out on Guilford College Road by Harvest Church. the adjacent property from residential to, was it residential or agriculture? Agriculture to civic usage. The applicant had not done any outreach yet to the neighboring community. There's some real concerns there about water runoff that the citizens that live right in the adjacent community voiced. The planning board decided to continue the hearing till next month with the hope that the applicant will reach out to the neighbors and try to have some goodwill there and see what they can figure out in terms of ensuring that the residents are not impacted by any parking lot development that goes in. So, and then I will say too that, again, I'm not trying to steal Jim's thunder with the school stuff, but but I did in April attend the High Point Schools Partnership, the Student Leadership Awards that they did. I attended last year as well. And we had two students from, not from Jamestown, but from our schools, one at GTCC Middle College and one at Ragsdale, who received awards. The wonderful thing about these awards is they tell the principals, they give them no criteria. Whoever in your school you want to recognize as, you know, a leader in your school and give them an award, choose that person. So for GTCC, it was DeAndre Jarrett. And for Ragsdale, it was Diana Chavez. So congratulations to them. And then again, sorry, one more thing that is not really a report, but because I was talking about the schools and, you know, one of the things that when I came onto the council, my big thing was creating these partnerships with the school system in the town. And I want to say thank you to our Parks and Recreation staff who helped with that. We did some fundraising for the Jamestown Middle School Band, Chorus, and Orchestra with some concession stands out at the soccer games that they have out there at Jamestown Park. The Parks and Recreation staff was wonderful to work with, even though some of them stole our Oreos. I'm just kidding. They did, but it's okay. We don't care. So, yeah, they were wonderful to work with, very accommodating. It ran very smoothly, and we're done now, and I really appreciate it. So, and that's finally it for me.
Okay, great, thank you. And everyone wants to hear from Eli, so here's take the stage.
Good evening, council. I want to apologize for not being here the past couple of meetings I've had lacrosse, but I'm here now. This past weekend we had our Starry Night prom at Starmount Country Club. Our prom king was Braylon Lewis and our prom queen was Sarah Garavito. Tonight, band and orchestra has a concert in the auditorium. The seniors have their grad walks at different elementary schools Wednesday morning, and senior awards are on Thursday night at 6:30. The senior picnic is May 29th, and graduation is June 10th. Exams start soon on June 1st. We've had a pretty exciting sports season this year, or spring sports season. Our women's soccer team went to the second round of state playoffs. Their final record was 13-6. Men's baseball went to the second round of playoffs as well. Their final record was 15-10. The softball team went 19-3 and made it to the second round of playoffs. Men's lacrosse this is like our best record in years. We went 5-13 and we made it to playoffs for the first time in a while. Women's track and field won the state championship this past week.
Wow.
And that's it.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, thank you.
Eli, before you go, do you know what you're going to be doing next year? You're a senior, yeah?
No, I'm a junior.
Oh, you're a junior. Okay, well, look, that really, I guess you'll be at Ragsdale next year then, huh? Okay, well, maybe we'll see you again next year.
Threw him off a little bit.
Okay, Guilford County Sheriff's Department, have a report for us?
How y'all doing? Good. So for the month of April, we were dispatched to 196 calls for service. Our average response time is 6 minutes and 32 seconds. We have conducted 45 traffic stops in the month of April. and 7 citations issued for the month of April.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for you.
All right. Anybody have anything they want to ask?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're going to move on to get old business out of the way now. And I'm going to start with the resolution that James discussed earlier. This has been an interesting item, and I could see James right there, yeah. James and Jesse came to my house, a couple months ago, and we sat around the kitchen counter and went through your documents and proposals, and I was so interested and blown away. I mean, you guys know so much about this as part of the project. I think, again, it's the Wake Forest launch program that is how Jesse got started into it. And James, you go to GTCC. Is it early college or middle college? Middle college, yeah. And is my neighbor as well. So when we sat around and talked about this, one of the first things that y'all pointed out to me was how your group in your writings and your proposals and the paperwork you had put together so far, that you had tailored it to the bigger cities like High Point and Greensboro. And those are, cities with their own police forces, and bigger cities with bigger problems and, larger amounts of people. And then Jamestown, as we said, of course, is much smaller. We don't have our own police force. Although there are small towns like ours, Randleman, for example, that has their own police force. But our law enforcement arm is the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. And the sheriff and the deputies maintain, as I've learned, their certifications through the North Carolina Training and Standards Commission. So if you guys do anything improper, that's who it gets reported to and who deals with it. We have no authority over anything that you do, as I think Martha said earlier. So today, not to change the subject, this fits in, I went to a spices luncheon at Jamestown Friends meeting with Councilwoman Burgess. And while I was there, I picked up one of these things, little things with the values of the Quaker community printed on it. That's what SPICES stands for. It's an acronym for simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. And I guess I kind of assume everyone knows, but in case you don't, James, the community was settled by Quakers about 300 years ago. It's the oldest Quaker settlement, in fact, I think, in the country. But in reading this, it hit me today, and trying to figure out how I'm going to explain this. I like to think that we do law enforcement in Jamestown the simple way, with simplicity, because we can. All these years of Quaker peace and equality, I feel like have instilled here, and the traditions that make this a community that values nonviolence, tolerance, and respect. In November, Sheriff Rogers gave a public statement in which he said he's not involved in, nor has he ever been asked to participate in, or has he been told about federal operations. And he posted it on his Facebook page, and it's still out there. And he said, "We continue to be the sheriff's office to serve and protect the citizens of Guilford County." I got a good long look at that a couple months ago when the peace monks came through town. And the sheriff and his deputies walked the talk and protected them and the thousands of people who showed up here to see the monks. I read, in putting this together, something that I think Norma wrote when she covered a speaker who came to speak, named Max Carter, he's a professor at New Garden Friends, and he spoke in February about how the Quakers invented America. And he said that God speaks directly to the soul and not to the authority of the church or the state. So you need to take everyone's perspective seriously so you can come to a larger, better understanding of the whole truth rather than a simple majority. This council took this very seriously, James, and spent a lot of time. We heard from a lot of people on all sides of this issue, a lot more than I expected to hear from. And everyone here totally, I think, would say agrees with your message of equity, safety, inclusion, protection, tolerance. but we just don't have the authority to formalize something like this. But by bringing this before us and the other towns you're talking to, you're definitely bringing a better understanding of this whole truth to a whole lot of people. So that's it. Anybody else want to add anything?
Thought that was well stated, Mayor. Thank you.
It was a hard one, so. But well done, and I hope you guys get a good grade on this. Let me know how it goes, in fact.
And I will also say I think it's wonderful when young people want to be involved in democracy, especially, as we see some erosion to democracy. So I think it's great that you're involved, and part of democracy is, things don't always go your way, and you keep on plugging away at it, so.
That's right. Come back anytime you want to talk about it, present anything. And that goes for anyone. Okay, second was the public hearing, and Matthew's going to kick that off, I believe, here.
All righty. Members of council, members of staff, and citizens of Jamestown. In accordance with the North Carolina General Statute, Chapter 159, the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, staff respectfully presents for your consideration the proposed fiscal year 26-27 annual budget for the town of Jamestown. The proposed budget, as directed by council during the May 12, 2026 budget meeting, is balanced, and all anticipated revenues, expenditures, transfers, and debt obligations identified and appropriated as required by state law. Since 2021, each annual budget presented to the town council has been developed around the financial and operational priorities that are identified within the council's adopted strategic plan, which we heard about earlier. That is reviewed and reaffirmed annually during the budget process. The strategic plan continues to guide the town's decision-making across 7 primary focus areas: staff excellence, communication and engagement, infrastructure resiliency, public health and safety, planning and economic development, amenities and resource stewardship. The proposed budget before council tonight was likewise developed within that same strategic framework and reflects the town's ongoing effort to align our financial decisions with the long-term goals and priorities established by council. The proposed budget before you reflects the policy direction provided by council during the May 12th budget retreat. And specifically, the council directed staff to establish a proposed property tax rate of 51.63 cents per $100 valuation, maintain nonprofit funding generally at the fiscal year 25-26 levels while supporting a new request from NC Fusion, eliminate the proposed reserve for future expenditures appropriation, fund a 3% cost of living adjustment without a merit component for employees, delay implementation of the proposed advanced metering infrastructure, or AMI project, by 1 fiscal year, and in addition, reduce the annual motor vehicle fee from $30 to $15 and limit the Guilford County Sheriff's Office contract to $500,000. Staff prepared the proposed budget in accordance with that direction. During citizen comment at the May 12th budget meeting, one speaker made a statement that was directed towards me and our staff that was clearly intended as criticism, but candidly, I believe it's one of the finest compliments that I've ever had for our organization. The statement was that the town manager and staff continually over budgets, or in financial terms, we overestimate our expenses, and underspend, or in financial terms, we underestimate our revenues. And respectfully, that is actually one of the foundational principles of responsible local government budgeting. Our responsibility is not to build budgets based on best-case scenarios, optimistic assumptions, or revenues that we hope might materialize. Our responsibility is to prepare budgets conservatively, responsibly, and sustainably so that the town remains financially stable even when conditions change unexpectedly. That approach protects the organization, it protects our taxpayers, it protects the employees, and it protects the town's long-term financial health. As we've presented on numerous occasions in the past, the fund balance that we often refer to can be compared to our savings account. And while the accounting is much more nuanced than that, that comparison is somewhat helpful. The town's fund balance represents resources that are available for emergencies, major one-time projects to hedge against economic uncertainty, to provide for grant matches, to insulate against unexpected lawsuits, and other needs that may arise during the year. It is not intended to serve as a recurring source of revenue to pay for ongoing operations. Using our fund balance as an to balance an operating budget is similar to paying your monthly electric bill from your savings account. It may work temporarily, but eventually the savings account will be empty and the bill itself still remains. For fiscal year 26-27, the town's total general fund balance is approximately $8.1 million. Yes, that is a lot of money. But most people are unaware of how that value is structured. Once our restricted, committed, assigned, and non-spendable resources are accounted for, the town's truly flexible reserves become significantly smaller. Council's fund balance policy instructs that at a minimum, 40% of the general fund's annual expenditures be reserved, and that if those reserves dip below that threshold, the council shall implement a method to replenish the funds. Put simply, this means that generally the tax rate must rise to cover the difference. The finance director and our auditors feel more comfortable with the town maintaining roughly 50% of our general fund expenditures, which is roughly 6 months of expenses, as a safety net in order to preserve financial stability and operational flexibility. So as an example, with our annual general fund expenditures approaching $10 million, that would mean that the town would need to keep $5 million in unassigned fund balance. And we have just over that, roughly $5.3 million. For simple math, that means that the town has roughly $300,000 in discretionary spending available to it. Under the proposed budget structure, approximately $420,000 of fund balance would be used to support recurring operational expenditures. And while that does not technically violate the town's adopted fund balance policy, staff remain concerned that continued reliance on our fund balance to support recurring operations over the long term is not sustainable. I do want to briefly discuss the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Initiative, commonly referred to as the AMI project for short, because staff continues to believe that this is an important long-term infrastructure discussion for the town. As an enterprise fund, that's one that operates more similar to a traditional business, our water and sewer system is expected to fully support itself financially over time through revenues that are generated by the system itself. That means it is imperative that we continue investing in and protecting the infrastructure that delivers the services to our citizens. These underground utilities represent one of the largest public infrastructure investment that the town owns. Protecting that investment means more than simply repairing pipes when something breaks. It means ensuring that the system is operating efficiently, accurately, and sustainably, both from an infrastructure and revenue perspective. Our Public Services Director recently shared with me that each year when the town submits its local water supply plan to the state, one of the measurements that's evaluated is the amount of potential water loss occurring within the system. And historically, our estimated water loss has generally remained in the range of approximately 2 to 3%, which is considered very good for a municipal water system. However, more recent reporting indicates that those losses have now increased to over 10%. And there can be multiple causes that are associated with water loss, but one of the most significant factors is aging water meters. And as water meters age, they gradually slow down and they stop accurately registering water consumption over time, meaning that the recipient gets more water than they're paying for. And when that occurs, the town is still purchasing, treating, and delivering water to customers, but portions of the consumption are no longer being accurately billed to our detriment. That represents lost revenue that does not come back into the system to help maintain the infrastructure that's already in the ground. And while staff certainly understands Council's desire to delay the implementation of a customer portal, which that component was of that project as well, in order to reduce near-term financial impacts, staff continues to believe it's important for us to revisit the meter replacement portion of this initiative. A significant number of the town's existing meters are approaching or have exceeded their expected useful life. The longer replacement's delayed, the greater the likelihood that system inefficiencies and revenue losses continue compounding over time. Staff's recommendation would be begin approaching this project incrementally, replacing aging meters over time rather than waiting for the issue to become substantially larger and expensive to address all at once. Because ultimately, that's not just simply a technology project, it is an infrastructure protection project. It's also a revenue integrity project. It's part of protecting the long-term sustainability and one of the town's most important public assets. It's also vitally important to spend a few moments discussing our employees and why continued investment in our workforce remains critically important to the town's long-term success. Unlike many private sector organizations, local governments generally do not have the flexibility to provide bonuses, mid-year compensation adjustments, or other forms of immediate financial incentives throughout the year. This means that annual compensation decisions carry even greater significance for local governments. I also think it's important to recognize that during periods of economic pressure and uncertainty, there can sometimes be a tendency to focus heavily on cost reductions, so heavily on cost reductions that we unintentionally lose sight of the importance of continuing to invest in our people. But organizations don't become stronger by diminishing the people responsible for carrying the mission forward. Strong organizations are built by continuing to invest in good people, supporting excellence, and creating an environment where employees feel valued, respected, and motivated to serve at a high level. Our employees truly are the lifeblood of the organization, and the quality of service our citizens receive every day is directly connected to the quality, stability, and the morale of the people providing those services. Over the years, Jamestown has been incredibly fortunate to recruit and retain some of the most incredibly talented, dedicated, and service-oriented employees, and that has not been by accident. It's happened because councils and organizational leadership understood that employee compensation is not simply a paycheck, it is an investment. Our employees are the people responsible for providing services that our citizens value every single day. They are the individuals maintaining the infrastructure, responding to emergencies. We just had one this evening. There was a fire at the park. So thank you very much to our fire department and our park staff for responding to that. They operate our utilities, they maintain the parks, they improve our facilities, they support recreation programs, they manage development, they protect public resources, and ensure that the town continues functioning effectively and efficiently each and every day. Jamestown's employees take tremendous pride in their responsibility. I have personally watched staff go to extraordinary lengths to save this town money and improve services for our citizens. One example that comes to mind is our Parks and Recreation staff that took fallen trees from around the golf course, milled lumber from those trees, and you've heard me say this, and then utilizing their own staff labor during the slower winter months, constructed storm shelters for golfers at minimal cost, which saved the towns tens of thousands of dollars. I've watched our public services employees make recommendations and assist in sourcing locations to deposit all the loose leaves that we collect around the town in locations that accept them for free instead of simply taking to the yard waste facility, saving significant costs to the town. And I have seen staff from completely different departments come together to help place pine needles at town entrances, around town hall, around the parks, and the golf course pro shop, simply because they take pride in the appearance of the community and they wanted to help each other. That level of teamwork and organizational culture is rare, and it matters. Because ultimately, the quality of the services that our citizens receive is tied directly to the quality, stability, professionalism, and the morale of the employees that deliver the services. I remain concerned that eliminating the merit component of the employee compensation may unintentionally send the message that all levels of effort, initiative, innovation, and performance are viewed exactly the same, when realistically that is not always the case. At the same time, cost of living continue to rise. Our current consumer price index trends remain near or above 4%, and household costs continue increasing for our employees just as they do for our citizens. Historically, when the town has completed compensation and classification studies, the consultants have consistently complimented Jamestown for its foresight in continuing to provide both cost of living and merit-based adjustments where financially possible. The reason is simple. Maintaining competitive compensation gradually over time helps prevent organizations from falling substantially behind market conditions and later being forced into much larger and more disruptive compensation corrections. And honestly, the labor market affecting local government is no different than the broader economy around us. Competition for talented employees continues to increase. And if local governments fail to remain competitive, eventually those organizations begin losing folks with institutional knowledge, interrupt operational continuity, and long-term organizational stability. Our staff, and I want to speak on behalf of all of them, remain deeply committed to serving the community with professionalism and excellence. Continued investment in the people who deliver those services remains one of the most important long-term investments that any organization can make. The proposed budget reflects Council's direction that the town's contract with Guilford County Sheriff's Office not exceed $500,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. The Sheriff's Office has indicated to us, as I shared with you, that that would require approximately $517,000 that would be necessary to maintain a dedicated 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-per-year coverage for the town. And based on preliminary discussions, the reduced funding level would likely result in changes to coverage availability, staffing flexibility, and operational deployment schedules. I have had some questions that have come to me about what happens if a final budget is not adopted before June 30th. Under North Carolina law, the town would move into what is effectively a provisional operating budget. In practical terms, it means that the town would continue to provide basic operations and maintain existing services temporarily, but many new projects, capital initiatives, and forward-looking investments would largely pause until a final budget is adopted. More importantly, Guilford County requires the finalized tax rate information before July 1st in order to prepare and issue their annual property tax bills in accordance with state law timelines. If a final budget and tax rate are not adopted before the June 30 deadline, the current tax rate of 65.5 cents would remain in place for the upcoming billing cycle. Even if council later wished to reduce the tax rate, the timing constraints associated with tax billing would likely make that impossible until a future fiscal year. Delays can also create broader financial implications for the town. Failure to adopt a timely budget may result in an audit finding or a financial performance concern that would reflect negatively on the town's financial management practices. It may also draw additional scrutiny from the Local Government Commission, the LGC, which monitors the fiscal health of municipalities across the state. And ultimately, perceptions of financial uncertainty or instability can affect borrowing conditions, interest rates, and the town's long-term financial flexibility, which would lead to higher costs to the citizens over time. I do not believe that anybody here wants that outcome. Staff is also believes that it is important to acknowledge uncertainty surrounding some potential statewide property tax reform discussions that are occurring right now in the North Carolina General Assembly, including Senate Bill 889, and some other related proposals involving property tax reappraisal moratoriums and levy limitations. While the ultimate outcome of that legislation remains uncertain, these discussions serve as an important reminder that municipalities may face increasing constraints on future revenue flexibility at the same time as operational costs, infrastructure needs, and service expectations continue to rise. For that reason, staff believes that maintaining a strong financial reserve and long-term fiscal resiliency remains important for us moving forward. And I know you're ready for this. In closing, while staff prepared this proposed budget in accordance with council's direction, I would be remiss if I did not respectfully state that the staff remains concerned that the long-term sustainability of the current financial structure in this proposed budget. The cuts go deeper than the team is comfortable with, the margins are thinner than we would recommend, and if something breaks, be it a water main, an unexpected repair, an unexpected lawsuit, or a key team member's resignation that we may have to backfill, we may not have the flexibility to respond. So tonight, I walked into this meeting carrying two responsibilities that I feel like are pulling in slightly opposite directions. The first is to faithfully present the budget direction that I was asked to prepare. And number two is to ensure that the council and the public clearly understand the trade-offs of those choices. Specifically, the increased reliance on fund balance, deferred infrastructure investment, and reduced financial flexibility create concerns about our town's ability to maintain long-term operational stability without future corrective measures. That means tax increases. While the proposed budget is not one that staff can recommend, we do fully remain committed to continuing to work collaboratively with our council to identify a path forward that balances both affordability concerns, which are really important, with responsible long-term financial stewardship for the town, equally important. Ultimately, tonight's discussion is not simply about whether the town can mathematically balance a budget for one fiscal year. It's deeper than that. The question that comes up is, what kind of financial legacy do we want to preserve for the community? And what level of stability do we want to maintain for the organization? And what responsibilities do we owe not only to today's citizens, but also the generations that are going to follow us? Respectfully, staff remains concerned that continued reliance on deferred expenditures and the use of our fund balance, our savings, to support recurring operational costs would place the town in a significantly more difficult financial position in the not-too-distant future. If recurring expenditures continue to outpace recurring revenues, eventually the town may find itself in a position where difficult corrective actions become unavoidable. Those actions could include delayed infrastructure improvements, deferred maintenance, reduced flexibility, staffing instability, reductions in service levels, or potentially larger tax increases in future years simply to catch up. And that's the kind of cycle that we're all trying to avoid. Because once organizations begin to fall behind financially, it becomes exponentially harder to regain that stability later. Deferred maintenance becomes more expensive, delayed capital projects become larger and more expensive capital projects. Ask me how we know. Staff turnover becomes harder and more expensive to correct, and small financial gaps left unresolved long enough eventually become large financial problems. That is why the staff has approached this budget discussion with such seriousness and why we continue emphasizing long-term sustainability alongside near-term affordability. At the same time, it's not all doom and gloom. I do want to be equally clear about something else. The conversation tonight is not about fear, and it's not about conflict. It's certainly not about criticism. It's about stewardship, honesty, and making sure that the decisions that we do make tonight or during this budget process do not unintentionally create larger burdens for the people who come after us, because Jamestown did not become the community today that it is today by accident. A wise manager told me one time that it was wise investments and frugal living that led to where we are, and I believe that. Previous generations invested in this town. They maintained what they built, they planned ahead, and made the difficult decisions when necessary. They understood that leadership sometimes means looking beyond the next year and focusing on the next decade. And that matters, that legacy matters, because now it becomes our responsibility to carry the work forward. I still believe very strongly that there is a path forward. I believe we can continue to work collectively and collaboratively towards solutions that provide meaningful tax relief while also preserving our long-term financial health. I believe we can protect the quality of services that our citizens depend upon while still remaining sensitive to financial pressures that many families are now experiencing. And I believe that we can move forward together in a way that strengthens trust rather than weakens it. Because at the end of the day, none of us here tonight are opponents. We are stewards of the same community. We all love Jamestown. We all want safe neighborhoods, strong infrastructure, reliable services, financial stability, opportunities for future generations, and an organization that remains healthy, professional, and capable of serving the public with excellence. My sincere hope is that as we move forward towards our final decision, that we continue approaching our conversations with trust, professionalism, transparency, and a shared commitment to moving Jamestown forward together, not simply for ourselves, but for the citizens, for the employees, for the families who call this community home, and for the people who will call it home after we are long gone. That ultimately is the responsibility that has been entrusted to all of us. Thank you for enduring a longer presentation, but I thought that it was important to get that information to you.
Matthew, you know I do not have a poker face. That was the longest conclusion I've ever heard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. I thought we were winding down.
Okay, we're going to, public hearing is now open. If you would like to speak, come to the podium, and again, limit it to 3 minutes. We've got a 3 minute.
Hello, I'm Ken Alonge. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Robert Frederick, who couldn't be with us tonight. He had other plans. Robert did a deep dive into the budget and came up with several issues that really need to be addressed. 4 main things. There are some internal inconsistencies, some inaccurate calculations, an unrepresentative estimate of the collection rate, and a large difference in property valuation used in figuring the ad valorem taxes. So I can't get into the details for this because I wouldn't do it justice because I haven't gone into the budget like Robert did. And so I wanted to get his analysis before the council tonight for you to review before you make any decision on the budget. Okay?
He already sent it to us. He already sent it to us via email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I live on Noah Drive, and I try to work hard to make sure my piles are right. And, I mean, they do a fabulous job. So please look after them. They're the ones that keep Jamestown looking nice and neat. I mean, they come around all the time and pick up and straighten up behind the neighbors that don't do a very good job. But these guys are wonderful, and we need them. So I would appreciate it if y'all would attempt to make them happy. I thank y'all for all you do.
Thank you.
It's a public hearing. Yeah.
Mr. Manager, I have never heard a better presentation, and I am extraordinarily proud to know you. I have some concerns about the budget, mostly the items that happened last week. I'll be specific. Reducing, and Matthew's done a much better job of, much more eloquent than I am, but I'm going to give you my passionate plea because I have lived here so long, worked here so long, that I have a real understanding and care. Reducing disaster preparedness, as Matthew discussed, with our reserves. Serving as the town finance officer, assistant manager, town manager, I witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by dam failures. That's not the bad one, dam failures during severe storms, emergency electrical system failures at the park, property damage from frozen water lines, costly sewer system accidents, straight line winds causing massive tree damage, storm drain collapses, and the widespread unexpected effects of numerous ice storms and hurricanes. Recent disasters across our state, including fires and pandemics, underscore the necessity of maintaining undesignated reserves to immediately protect both property and citizens. In addition, we must be sure to prepare for coming infrastructure replacements, and facilities that we require. Impact on employees. I am very passionate on this. If the council fails to adequately support and compensate employees, we risk losing talented individuals to neighboring cities like Greensboro and High Point, where they may receive higher wages and benefits. Such actions also negatively affect morale of the entire staff. Council is sorely mistaken if they think buying the staff a sandwich for lunch one day is really showing their support of the staff's worth. It is not. Think of the inflation we all have experienced, particularly in the last 5 months. Council members, 3 of you live in my neighborhood, and I expect you are not feeling inflation impact as deeply as the staff we rely on. And they care for our safety and provide our necessary services to all citizens. Sheriff's Department, by disrupting a relatively minor amount of money, worrying over $17,000 compared to what you're working for, council is jeopardizing important relationships in ways that do not fully appreciate. You just don't appreciate. Additionally, it simply does not make sense to spend town funds on attorney fees. I love them, but we don't want to pay them. And there's no reason for us to do that when over $17,000 over such an important service. I also want to say, I want to remind council to be very clear about how they communicate budget and other items in social media. I will copy you on this because I feel very strongly about it.
All right, so first and foremost, Jim, I promise I will be calm. I appreciate you emoting earlier. That's the most I've seen you emote since you took office. Please keep doing it. First and foremost, guys, you know, what I'm having handed out is a copy of the fund balance policy, and my feeling is that not everybody's actually read the thing. We're one of the few municipalities that's actually had a fund balance policy that we've adhered to religiously well before I ever came around. And honestly, the councils that before us were very astute about maintaining the future of Jamestown when it comes to resources, when it comes to understanding what needs to be done, when it comes to the simple stuff, trash pickup, maintaining a relationship with the Sheriff's Department, what are we going to do with the Fire Department, how do we take care of this population that's going to definitely expand. It's not an if, it's a definite. It's going to expand by at least 2,000 people over the next 4 years. That's going to happen. You can see the houses popping up now. They look great. And the development's coming along nicely. But we are just now having the point where we can start looking at what do we need to do to improve on this. That's the whole point of the fund balance. That is the whole point of having that extra money there. So you're going to cut back over $600,000 that wasn't just going to be there for fund money. It was going to be there so that we could anticipate things like the aforementioned fire at the park or anything else as far as that's concerned, assuming insurance doesn't do it. Okay? I mean, it's as simple as that. You can decide how you want to respond to it, but the bottom line is current state will probably end up being in something along the lines of a $400,000 deficit by the end of this year based on what we're currently projecting. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. The other thing I'll tell you is this. I got about a minute left. You know, serving this town's an honor. It's leadership. It is taking care of the business of Jamestown. It's about taking care of the people in Jamestown, but it's also about taking care of all the people in Jamestown and the future people that want to come to Jamestown and taking care of the assets of Jamestown, okay? That's the whole point of all this. That's what this is all about. It's not about ribbon cuttings. It's not about a pretty pair of scissors. It's about how well of a job can we do taking care of our town and the people in it. Now, I'll tell you this very simply. I mean, a cost of living adjustment, 3%, that's not cost of living. That's a joke. It's not, I'm sorry, every year we see time and again, the numbers are higher. We know what the numbers are higher. Merit says, hey, you know, you did a great job. We appreciate you. You did a lot of good stuff. Oh, by the way, we're not giving you any more money. And that's the lifeblood of the people that are here. That's what they've got. That's all they've got is one time a year, because you can't just give out gift cards and do a bunch of other stuff. Here lies madness, okay? If you don't vote in favor of taking care of them from a financial standpoint, you're saying you don't care. It's as simple as that.
Thank you.
Mr. Capes.
Oh, God, yes.
Hey, I am still Martha Wolf, and I still live in Jamestown. I want to thank you, Mayor and Council, for your willingness to serve your community. As I have said before, it's often a thankless job, and it's also a job where you get yelled at a lot. And I also thank the town staff in all departments for working hard for our town and keeping the town a wonderful place to live. They are the ones that keep the town moving, and I do think Jamestown is a wonderful place to live. I followed the budget process this year, and I know how hard it is to make the tough decisions required. I've been a staff person, an elected official, a citizen, a taxpayer, and now a senior citizen taxpayer. So I can empathize with all parties. I would be lying, though, if I said to the council, I would like you to raise my tax rate. And I appreciate council working hard to reduce the tax rate, especially now in this economic environment and the Guilford County reevaluations, which greatly increase property values, and the cost of basic everyday living, as we've heard. So the council's diligence in reducing expenses is appreciated. I've always tried to seek cooperation and compromise when faced with tough decisions, trying to find ways that all parties walk away with something, not a my way or the highway approach. But I have observed this council look at all expenses across the board, such as contracts, payroll, personnel, public safety, fire department, equipment needs, CIP projects, and strive to find a balance for all parties to get something. Of course, in a perfect world, I'd like to see everything funded. I think we all would, but we don't live in a perfect world. But I do pray that this council and staff can find a compromise. So good luck, God bless you, and God bless Jamestown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Lynn Montgomery, CPA, 115 Ganaway Street. The most important job of town council is to approve a fiscally responsible budget. I have reviewed this budget that's in front of you, and it's not fiscally sound. This is a target-rich document, but in the interest of time, I will focus on two of the main concerns. First is the fund balance. A healthy fund balance should be maintained for several reasons. One is cash flow management. The second is unexpected expenses or economic downturns. We've had both over the last few years. In 2014, Jamestown was included in a federal disaster area. Although FEMA funds were available, the expenses were not fully reimbursed until 2018, 4 years later. During that time, those expenses were paid from fund balance, and that's what your fund balance is for. And the last thing is you could create and keep a healthy fund balance for creditworthiness. Lenders base their fees and their rates on these fund balances. The fund balance is the citizen's savings account. It is not to be used to cover ordinary or reoccurring expenses. The next item is the proposed tax rate. This tax rate does not generate sufficient income to cover the 2026, 2027 expenses. It uses $420,000 of the fund balance just to pay the bills. The proposed budget uses approximately 8% of the available fund balance, the citizen's savings account. This is not fiscally responsible, nor is it sustainable. But you can fix this. How can you remedy this? At your disposal, you have an exceptional finance officer and financial software which can calculate and analyze multiple scenarios. Please use these tools to construct a budget which is both fiscally responsible and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we're going to open the floor to the council for discussion.
So Faith, I have questions for you. So can you explain a little bit, Faith, about, okay, so this is something I asked in one of the previous budget retreats. So if there were no revaluation, right, the proposed tax increase that we're looking at would be about 14 cents for the initial proposed budget. So, because, you know, with the tax, if we don't go to a revenue neutral, it would essentially, by even reducing it to 60 cents, 61 cents, that's a 14-cent tax increase. So why would we be needing to take money from our fund balance when I thought we had planned, so the council before Pam and I came on, that was what, 2023, there was a 10-cent tax increase. Then the following year, a 4-cent tax increase. Then last year, we had the 3-cent tax increase for the fire station. So my understanding was in those first, the 2023, 2024, that was to get us to where we needed to be so we remain solvent. So why would we need to now go to a 14-cent tax increase to not dip into our fund balance for operations?
Well, one thing, inflation gets us. I think that's what happened. I had just started Jamestown about the time, I think I came in at the end of 21, if I remember correctly. And so they had just come through COVID, and the tax rate, to my knowledge, hadn't changed for operational purposes since 2008, is that correct? That's correct. So when that rate increase happened there, we just hadn't had one in several years. And so operationally, with inflation and other things coming down the pipeline, it caused the tax rate to have to be increased. There are services that continue to go up that we have to pay for, such as liability, property insurance, things like that, workers' comp, other insurances that the town covers. Just regular utility expenses, those kind of things, they go up as well. Additional street lighting for development and things like that that we have to cover. And really, if there had been no revow and we would have sat down at the table, we would have had to go through CIP just like we've done and say, okay, what do we want to pay and do this year, as opposed do we need to defer? And some things, we could, and some things we couldn't. So I think it's a case by case, and if the amendment passes, that's coming through the Senate, that'll be another hard look. We'll have to sit down again and pretty much start the whole budget process over with the revow as to what it would have been. Well, the tax valuation without the revow. So we would have to start over again. And
You mean the moratorium that you're?
the moratorium, with the Senate bill. So there's varying factors. The fact that we had a revow did give us an excess in revenue. And I had put that into the proposed budget just kind of as a starting point. And with the model that we have now, we could have looked at various scenarios as far as the tax rate. And we had prepared to do that, but we didn't get a chance. So every budget has to be looked at. Even if we hadn't went a revenue neutral this year, we would still have to sit down and look at it and go through and see what we would want to pick, just because inflation, gas prices are going up, and just the cost of doing business.
So you did show us some models, so we did get a chance. We plugged some numbers in, so.
That was in the April meeting, yes,
Yeah.
a little bit.
So then I have a question about the fund balance, or one of the things that we had talked about at our last meeting was, what was it, $600,000+ to be taken out?
$627,000.
627. So, but that was to be set aside, correct, for the, I mean, that specifically was not maybe set aside, that's not the right, but, you know, we were planning for the fire station, is that correct? That's what that was for?
Possibly, we could have done that, yes.
Okay.
If that's the way council would have directed that, or if there was another capital project that they wanted to take, or to do. But in a sense, I mean, if you'd have saved from where we had figured up the estimate of the fire department, that would have been like a half a year's payment.
Right, right. Well, I know, because Pam and I, one of the things, well, and Jim, one of the things that we and Matthew and Chief Carson did was we went out and spoke with our delegation from Jamestown out there, and that was one of the reasons that when we had spoken about this 600,000+, if it's basically earmarked for the fire station, I would rather wait on that and see if the state's going to give us money towards the fire station. That was one of the reasons that I was okay with taking that away. But are you saying that that was not for the fire station?
We could have designated for it. At the time, you know, it was there, and we could have designated that amount of money for that. Either we would have just known that that was there, or we could have set up a reserve account and moved those funds to a reserve account to hold that.
Okay. So what, or maybe you don't have this today, but maybe we can have it for, because I think we have another meeting, what, on the 28th?
May the 28th.
28th?
We need to correct that. We're not going to be able to have that meeting. We moved that meeting up to May the 12th, so there needs to be some discussion on revisiting that date. Also, I want to, just for clarification purposes, the reserve for future expenditures line item, if the tax rate had stayed at the same amount that it was, 65.5 cents, and we had funded everything in the budget, we started there as a discussion point, it would have resulted in a surplus of 600 and some odd $1,000 and change. That is money that the town will need at some point in the not-too-distant future to fund a fire station renovation and rebuild. We understand and we are empathetic to what's going on with the tax reval. So our discussions internally have revolved around what rate can we seriously go down on, what tax rate can we go down to, that will also provide us to have some flexibility to put some money back into fund balance, but not quite 600 and some odd thousand. It's not that the town can't use that money at some point in the near future. We were trying to be empathetic to the fact that there are people that are hurting from the tax reval.
Right.
So I
right.
just want to be clear that.
No, I understand,
Okay.
So, but I'm still stuck on that point that it would, the initial budget that was proposed would essentially be a 14-cent tax increase. So that's why I'm trying to wrap my head around, because we, again, raised it in 2023, raised it in 2024. So, but that's neither here nor there for my next question, which I can't remember now.
So, Madam Mayor, I had a few comments. Go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, the 14-cent tax increase is kind of a matter of semantics, though, is it not? Because if we swing the pendulum and go to 51 or whatever number in between, we're actually cutting the tax. It's the valuation that causes the tax rate to be higher. We're not controlling the increase in tax rate. That comes from the valuation. Is that?
Right, no, and I understand that, but I guess what I'm saying is that with the budget that was proposed, to fund it the way it was, if there was no tax valuation, right, we would have to increase by 14 cents to meet that number, because that's essentially what we would be doing.
We would have looked at the budget individually.
So
That's a question, yeah, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I think I understand. I think maybe Faith and I understand that question more. Is that would have resulted in further conversations about which capital projects or funding levels we needed to adjust to meet our current needs. So take the valuation component out. We still have rising costs. And we have to adjust for that. And we can talk about how to best do that, which is why we have these budget meetings to determine kind of what projects we want to defer, which things are most important, which are our priorities, those types of things.
Yeah, which we did have those meetings, right?
Yep.
We did.
We did.
So, Faith, so my other question is, I guess I'm still confused of why we're going to have to dip into fund balance. I'm not confused about the mathematics of it. I'm confused of how we set ourselves up for this in the first place. But what would be the drop dead, like, this is the lowest you could go without dipping into the fund balance?
The break-even point, I believe was like 57 cents.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That was all my
Hey,
question.
So-
before you leave, and you don't have to give me this, now, but tomorrow, whenever. On the CIP, there was an item number 39 on the old one, the previous one, that was the paint equipment storage building for the fairgrounds. We had talked about removing that and going down on it, but it wasn't on the new one. So I was just wondering what happened with that.
Scott was able to find a good price to get that done this fiscal year. We had a little extra cash in the budget, and he's able to get that done before June 30th.
Okay,
we
so that's
moved it
why
off.
it's not on the
Yes,
news.
ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a few comments, Madam Mayor, and I think my questions have been answered. I appreciate
Thank you, Faith.
the manager's remarks this evening and all the work of the staff team, and don't underestimate everything that goes into developing a town or city or a county budget. But, I know when I was campaigning for this position, I did hear an awful lot of commentary from folks in the community about the ongoing increase in our property tax rate and fees. And sort of, they asked me directly, what can you do about it? And I said, well, I don't quite know yet because I'm not officially in the seat. I said, but, I do have some very specific ideas. So 3 comments this evening. First of all, again, Mr. Manager, with all respect, I appreciate your commentary this evening, but I do have a difference of opinion with your budget message that you put out on May the 19th that's provided and published on our website, and disagree with that because I think it provides sort of an assessment and accusations that our budget plan that we've come up with and we've directed doesn't look out for the current long-term needs and financial stability of our community, because I believe that it does. And there's differences of opinion. I appreciate that and value that. Second, and I want the community to know that but for the good work of this council and the leadership that we provided over the past couple of months to get us to the point where we're at, the manager's initially proposed budget to us would have represented what amounts to a 39% increase in your tax bill, and then we've talked a lot tonight about the intentional efforts to create a $627,000 budget surplus that would flow into our fund balance, and we've had some discussion about that tonight too, which according to our finance director represents about 68.7% of our general fund expenditures from the last fiscal year and exceeds our policy limit by 28.7%. Which provides about 5 months' worth of operating support according to our general fund from last year. And the thing I think that sort of hit me most directly about the $627,000 had to do with, again, it was for, as I understood, to be used for yet to be defined or designated capital projects, which the town certainly has an ongoing need for support for projects. But really, from my perspective, I could not justify, to the taxpayers in Jamestown, asking them to give us an additional $627,000 just to stick into our savings account for the town that was already overfunded in terms of our fund balancing policy limits. And so, finally tonight, I think our plan is solid. It's fiscally responsible. It continues to provide a very high level of service and necessary capital projects to our community. It continues to provide our town employees with a market competitive salary increase and benefits package, all through our efforts to set the tax rate at 51.63 cents per 100 value next year, which would, again, the reason why that's higher than the revenue neutral rate is because we're respectively funding the Pinecroft Sedgefield Fire Department's full budget request, which is about 24% over what it was last year in the tax rate. We're lowering our vehicle fee in the town from $30 to $15, and we're lowering our proposed water rate increases from 11.5% to 8%. So I think in conclusion, there's a lot of, lot to be proud of in terms of the work that we've done. I don't want the community to think that, we haven't done the hard work of trying to figure out how we can provide the highest levels of service at the lowest possible cost. And we do, I think each one of us value and appreciate our town employees and the work that they do for the community. It's just that when we look comparatively at other employers in the region, it all seems to sort of gravitate around that 3% benchmark. And so, you know, and I know too that we've continued our employee benefits at a very high level as well. So with that, again, I appreciate the presentation tonight, but I do have some differences of opinion with how the budget message is portrayed and how it sort of looks at and makes accusations about things that this council really has done and has had in mind as we've been developing the budget going forward. So thank you.
Do you have anything?
No, I just want to, you know, just thank, this has been very difficult, more difficult than what I'd even imagine. And for me, everyone that knows me knows that I have a heart for this town, and I, you know, the employees mean just as much to me as the people in Jamestown. I still think about what we go through, or what we're going through, as we all go to the gas pump, or when we go to Publix. So we are all dealing with, you know, inflation and cost and what have you. And I think about those who are on fixed incomes and on tight budgets in the town of Jamestown. I've had those conversations with them. I care about them just as much as I care about the staff. And we've done some evaluations, and thank you, Councilmember Glanville, for presenting and, you know, all of that information that you did in regards to, you know, the COLAs and things like that as it relates to our neighboring towns and cities. So, you know, I still feel that, you know, we can still talk more. You know, it's not over until it's over.
I'm probably going to have more of a 30,000-foot view on this thing, partially because this is obviously it's a very complicated process, a lot of moving parts that go through here. And I'm going to apologize because I'll probably jump around because I have notes written on 3 different places based on what people are saying, trying to put them all together to something that sounds coherent. And I'll do the very best I can on that. I think I have to go back to, people are very passionate about things on both sides of this, and I hate to say side because we really should be together on this thing, working together to make the town better. And I have to go back to my experience professionally, and that's you have conflicts with people of difference of opinion, whether it's, you know, in my profession it would be between teachers or students or parents and that sort of thing. And the thing I always try to remember and try not to get emotional about it was the fact that everybody, for example, parents, were doing what they thought was best for their child. That they were very passionate about that. We didn't always agree on what that was, but that I had to think about it that way instead of saying, well, that person doesn't know what they're talking about. Well, that's their child, it's not mine. And so they're very passionate about it because it's the one thing that they care about the most because it's very personal to them. And so I try to look at things like this, that people are coming from the best place they know from where they're coming from. And it's something that you always have to understand when we're trying to make compromises and things of that nature. So I have no doubt in my mind that everybody who talked tonight, you know, Jim and Matthew and folks in the community and everybody on the panel here was talking from what they believe and really truly believe. And so have to respect that and not let emotions get into it. But I understand, you know, parents get emotional about their child because it's their child, and we all understand that. Okay, I said I was going to take a deep dive, or not take a deep dive. I was going to do 30,000 foot. But a couple things that I wanted to say about this. I always have to think I have to do something from somewhere that I feel comfortable with and that I can explain to myself at night. I can have a difficult conversation with somebody about something I did if I believe in that. What the council was trying to do, and you heard this multiple times tonight, was the tax rate is a lot. There's a lot of things that come with it. There's a lot of benefit to that, but it's high, and it's getting higher in terms of costs for people and for 1,000 different reasons, whether it's the federal government, the state government, what are gas prices, whatever you want to say, that the costs are getting higher and higher. So what we wanted to do, it was not always easy to do, but look at everything that we possibly could to figure out where are there ways that we can maybe cut and make some adjustments to this to make the things more bearable. And I think we've done that, and I certainly respect everybody's opinion and everybody's work on that. My concerns are that it's a really big pendulum swing from where we were to where we have arrived. And I understand how we got there. I completely understand that. But that's a very big pendulum swing. And as you know, with a pendulum doesn't come to one side and then stop. The pendulum sometimes have to start swinging back in the other direction. And that's what I wanted to avoid. And what I do all day long is try to find compromises, try to find agreements, and how we can all come together on something, which is, to me, the whole thing that I talked about when I ran was to bring people together. And I want to try and do that in some way possible. If it's not over this, then it's going to be over something else, but we're going to try. I think we have to try to look at both sides of that and try and find a middle ground. I think I heard tonight that we'd go $400,000 into the fund balance, if I'm not mistaken. Please don't quote me on the exact number. But it was down from $600,000 and $400,000 into the fund balance. And I don't know if we have a plan every year that we're specifically going to try and put a certain amount into the fund balance. Maybe it is slightly high, but I think if we continue to use that to pay things for everyday expenses, so to speak, in order to balance the budget, that gets concerning pretty quick. Now, I don't know enough about that to know how long that would be, and I realize that we probably can make some adjustments here and there. The same thing with the fire department, not the fire department, excuse me, Chief Carson. About said Derek for the 50th time, I'm sorry. For the police contract, it was just one of the other things we wanted to look at. Not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's just that we wanted to look at the contract, and so try to avoid continued rising costs. And we asked for information about that. It was provided if we stay at $500,000 and don't go to $517,000, then there may be times throughout the year that we don't have the 24-hour coverage. Now, that might be one day. I don't really know how that I didn't divide 365 into whatever that was going to be, but it may be just one day, but that may be significant. And so I think we also talked last time about having the $500,000, and what they had requested was at least an agreement that we would, if it went over that we would have an amendment to pay for that. Again, all of this was just in terms of trying to find a way to save the community money. Some of these ideas may be great, some of them may not be so great, and that's what I really value the comments tonight from folks to kind of give us a perspective on that. The same thing with the staff salaries. It's one of those things that I kind of learned, because some of us were from the private sector, some of us were from the public sector, and bonuses and raises kind of look differently. In education, you get a bonus if your test scores are really, really high, and not many people get them. And so the perspective was, well, not everybody gets it, so why does that work that way? From the business field, it may be you hit a quota or some kind on whatever you had to do, and that's where that raise came from. And so I understand taking a look at that. The challenge with that is, on multiple levels, 3%, we already know that 3% doesn't really get to where the cost of living goes. And so that's something I think is difficult, and I would ask us to go back and look at that, whether we go back to the 3 and 3 or some other combination of numbers that does adjust that. Because, again, inflation, I think, was said that it was closer to 4% and not 3%. So cost of living, I get it. I know it's difficult for us to say every year we're automatically going to do this. I don't know that we can say that. I think it's important for us to go back and revisit that and say, here's something that we value what's going on. And I think, even you had some comments or suggestions about how we can look at that going forward. Maybe we can go back and revisit that. But to kind of come up at the last minute and say we're going to cut that off at the knees is a little difficult. But I understand where it came from. It's not pointing at anybody in this room or anybody in the department or the police department or anything. It was just a need to look at everything across the board. So I think all these things still need to be looked at and reviewed to find somewhere in the middle that we can meet, that this is going to work for everyone, with not everyone getting everything that they wanted, but everybody gets the things that they need. I certainly value, the town's employees, and those are often the ones that, I remember going to work this morning, had to take something to my wife that she forgot, so I had to go a little bit earlier. And I saw a couple guys, I don't know which ones it was, so I'm not going to point you guys out on the golf course at like 6:45 in the morning trying to get things ready. So I know I've talked a lot, I apologize for that, but I think there was just some comments that I wanted to make, because I do respect both sides. I understand what it was that we're all trying to do and make some reductions. Man, we all live together, we're all in this town. I want us to be able to work together, talk more, have more conversations so we can resolve these things, because we're not always going to win. We just want to find a way to make sure that it's palatable for all of us, all those concerned. So we do reduce taxes as much as we can without risking the future. So I think, looking at that and maybe finding somewhere in the middle of those two numbers may be very helpful for all of us. And that may be the longest you ever hear me talk, and I'll stop right there. But I do appreciate what everybody has done and said, because again, it's your child and you want to protect it, and I certainly understand that. So I'm out.
So I do want to say too, just regarding, well, I appreciate what you had to say, Jim, what I really appreciate is, because you and I come from the same bent. We have similar training educationally, and when I like you, I think everyone comes to the table with their best heart and, what they really think is the best thing for the greater good. And I don't try to question people's competence because of that. If I have a difference of opinion, I don't try to think that they're corrupt if they have a different opinion. I don't come to it thinking, oh, they just don't get it. No, they just think differently on it than I do. And so I really appreciate that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the staff compensation, because you alluded to some stuff I put out there, Pam did as well. So this really hurts my heart so much that people would think that if we can't give fully what is asked for, that means we somehow devalue the staff, that we don't care about the staff, we don't think they do a good job, because that is so furthest from the truth that but there are just going to be budget years where you cannot give what's asked for. It's just going to happen. I've done a lot of research into this, a lot, over 3 years that I've now been doing budgets. We are really in excess to what our area is. Most places give either a COLA or a merit, not both. 16% give nothing at all. So we certainly don't want to be that at all. We are very fortunate that we have some other very generous benefits. We give longevity pay yearly. We pay for health insurance benefits for retirees. We have some really generous benefits that other localities don't have, and I'm really proud we have those, so that when we hit these budget years where we can't give the full ask, that we have some other really good benefits for our staff. Just personally, I have worked for 17 years for public entities. I worked for Guilford County. I've worked for quasi-governmental entities. I've worked for GTCC, which is under the state retirement system. One time I received a 6% increase. Never anything more than that, that's for sure. One time, 6%. Lots of years I got 0% increase. And that's kind of, one of the benefits of working in a public entity like this is you get a pension. Not many people get pensions. My husband, who works in the private sector, definitely doesn't get a pension. He's also not getting a 6% raise this year. 5. He's getting 5. So so one of the things we have to really look at is this really in line? And so that's why I've really tried to do. I've tried to be really fair about it. Again, working in all those there. This year, I'm not getting a 6% increase. I work for the Elders system, just like everyone else who works for the town of Jamestown. It's just, we are really above what other municipalities do. Now, last year when we didn't have a tax increase, I was okay with it. And I remember 2 years ago saying, if we don't have to raise taxes, let's give them whatever, whatever we can afford. But sometimes we can't afford everything, so it really, I'm sad that it's been set up to look like that if we don't give the full ask, that we somehow are, uncaring, and I've worked for a lot of entities in the government. Never once has anyone indicated to me as an employee that that the raise that I was being given was not enough and that I should question the people who gave it to me. So I'm, that's the state of affairs right now, but yeah.
I lied to you guys. I said I wasn't going to say anything else, but I did make jotted notes all over the paper here, and I just found two, and I want to say those things. I certainly respect what you had to say about that, and it is difficult. I mean, I get it. It's not something you can, like we said, we can't guarantee that. I know that a lot of places, most places don't give both of those things, but 42% of them do. And the thing I come back to is we talk about Jamestown being exceptional. We look at other places for comparison's sake a lot of times, and that's always good because you get a frame of reference. But I also think that it has to be, we talk about it being a great place to live, it's a great place to play, it's a great place to shop, and maybe it can be a great place to work as well. So I think, maybe it is not the full ask. Maybe I get it, it's a budget year that's difficult, and maybe we can't do that. But perhaps we can look at doing something, 3 and 2, or whatever those numbers end up being. If it's not full, then what can we do to make sure that we're still taking care of the people here? Because again, I agreed, we all decided that we're going to look at everything on this budget, and I completely understand that. But I think that's an area that we can revisit with some other things. I've learned a lot over the past couple of days trying to look at these things. But again, you're right, it's not something that you can say, we can do this every year, and the private sector doesn't do that. It's kind of a different situation, but I think it's one of those things that we can go back and revisit to say, maybe it can't be 6, but it can be this, to make it so that it does kind of get a little bit better with the cost of living.
And one of the reasons I was on board with the COLA was because COLA would be for everyone.
Yeah.
And whereas a merit is, say we did a 3% merit and didn't do a COLA, and I'm not saying that's an option either, but I'm just saying, say we did that. Some people would get 3%, some would get 2%, some would get 1%, some would get 0%.
If it was straight merit.
If it was straight merit, right. So, whereas COLA was like, okay, everyone's going to get 3%. So that's one of the reasons I was for that, so.
Yeah, and again, like I said a while ago, I think, we do a fair job of offering what I call a market competitive salary increase and benefits package to our employees, and I think everybody wants to continue that forward, so. Do we need some more discussion about the sheriff's contract? I mean, Matthew, what did you say that they're expecting from us tonight?
I don't have any expectations. I mean, we can discuss having another budget workshop. I have some other dates that I've
Was
just
there a
jotted down
deadline? I'm
quickly.
sorry. Was
Say that
there a
again?
deadline? Was there a deadline for if we decided to come up with the 517?
They need to know before the adoption of their budget, which I think is the 18th of June, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check their date. They're going to need to know before.
We have a little bit of a window to.
We do have a little bit of a window, yes, ma'am.
I think, again, I'm still struggling to understand why they can't provide the 24/7, 365 coverage with the $500,000 that we've designated. And again, as I've sort of relayed the math before, our ask of them is to provide basically 4.2 FTEs to help support that operation. We are funding through our $500,000 request very close to what they would ask. It's only $17,000 difference. But I'm struggling to understand, why they can't support that, even though I appreciate the commentary that came back from the attorney on behalf of the Sheriff's Department and was able to understand what they were saying with the 5 FTEs or the 5 deputies. The other thing is, and this goes back a couple of years when I think the finance director and Rob did some math about town support that we're providing to Guilford County through paying our property taxes and what other municipalities get, and sort of what Jamestown's fair share of that would be. There was a number calculated back at that point in time that we effectively, through our Guilford County property taxes we pay, should be given a $57,000 credit in terms of patrol support, and that digs down directly into the Sheriff's Department's budget and relates to what we were paying back in 2024, which I'm sure is probably more now. But it would be good to understand why we keep going back and forth on this. If it was something that was if we were asking for something different and not providing funding for it, that would be one thing. But we've been good partners. We continue to be good partners. I just don't understand yet fully from them about how the $500,000 number won't work. And to that end, I'd like to request at our next budget meeting, whenever we set it, to have the sheriff or some representative from the department come and explain that to us and explain to us how our Guilford County property taxes are applied. Again, I'm still a little confused about how Summerfield and Stokesdale and Oak Ridge and Sedalia and Pleasant Garden all get sort of 24/7, 365 response from the sheriff's departments. Obviously, they don't have a separate contract, but it's all fully funded through their Guilford County property taxes that they pay. And I just don't, again, understand how, what level of credit are they assigning to the town when they put together their budgets. Clearly, we're asking for the additional service, but I don't understand how the math is working out on their end. I think we're pretty clear on our end what it looks like, though.
Is that something that you've asked for before about getting some clarification on that? Because I know our time is kind of running short here, and I know there were questions about that, but is that a possibility of having?
We've specifically had the Guilford County Sheriff's Department, the finance folks from the county, come in to answer that specific question. I did not find their answer to be credible, but I could not get a different answer. The basic concept is that, of course, the sheriff's office is not under any obligation to provide the town any services whatsoever. Of course, they're not required to enter into any contract with us. However, to the extent that the Guilford County Sheriff's Office agrees to provide any services to the town, they may only charge and are arguably required to charge only what the cost of that service is. They can't make a profit off of the town. So I believe from a political standpoint, the issue is that they've come up with some calculation as to what they believe those costs are. They've presented that and they've charged that over prior years. So for them to then, we're essentially asking them to come up with a different formula, right? Because we're not arguing over like what the fair market value is, what it would sell for on the market. We're arguing over what the actual cost of the Guilford County Sheriff's Department is. And I don't know if that means that even if they recognize that there was a mistake, that they're going to cop up to it, or what it is that we can argue with them, because they've got the back office numbers, we don't. And as part of those discussions previously, I believe that the most glaring mistake in their calculations was that there was no credit being given to the contract for tax dollars coming from our citizen base. And I made that argument very forcefully. My forceful arguments were picked up by the news. I caught slack from it. Again, I don't think there's anything else I could have done to forcefully make that point. It received no positive impact. And I don't know what else I can do to drive that point home, or to make that point, or to get movement on that. So
Well, that again is where I would make a motion that we invite a representative, either the sheriff or some designee from his office, to come to our next budget work session that we hold and give us some background about, how our $500,000 number is not sufficient to meet their needs, and again, maybe some more clarification around how our Guilford County tax dollars are used to support and hopefully supplement some of the service detail that they provide. I just think it's important that we understand that. I'll probably have a difference of opinion again if we were asking for something differently and we had budgeted an amount that was less than reasonable to support what we were asking for. So in both cases here, I think we know what we're asking for. I think we know exactly what the $500,000 amount can support relative to FTE counts. And again, it parallels exactly what their county attorney representative was talking about in his conversation with Matthew or email to Matthew, which was, you know, they set it up with an ability to help backfill staffing needs when they have time off for training or vacations or other kinds of issues. And so again, if it takes 4.2 FTEs to do the job and we're funding 4.84 FTEs with $500,000, I mean, it would seem that we're being overly generous to them and not, you know, and that's absent understanding what that Guilford County property tax credit is that's not yet been defined by them. So that would be my motion.
So I guess the only thing that I would point out to the council is that we attempted a round of negotiation, and one of the big things that I've tried to stress to the board is that it's not fair to either party to make changes in policy at the 11th hour. And I think we're unfortunately getting close to that 11th hour now. The board had previously authorized us to enter into a contract at $500,000. I will also note that in prior years, the total amount of money that they actually ended up billing did not meet the original budget, right? So they came in under budget. Again, I can't promise that would happen again, but I would at least encourage the board to consider finding something to get us through this budget now and then go further in depth for next year's budget.
Yeah, I was thinking that if we could, I think it's still a conversation worth having, because the question still remains about people are paying taxes and Guilford County tax. How does that get credited to what we're paying in Jamestown? It's a fair question. I don't want to use police coverage as a bargaining chip at this point, and so I think we can ask that question. I think we still set it at 500 with the letter that they requested for if we go over that, because I think it's at 503 is what.
The 517 of
No, but the actual cost this past year.
This past year was
503. So we'll set it at 500. If it goes up to that, I support saying we'll pass the budget amendment to cover that, because I don't want to get in a situation where we're not paying that and not having the coverage. But I think it's still at least a fair question to ask, and so I would support making that request. And then in order to get us through, so that, yeah, you're right. I mean, the window is really short, that we go ahead and set it at 5 and then give them the letter that they had requested, and then still request that conversation, and then we can have further ones as we go down the road.
And I think, again, just from the prior, the number of people that they have brought to explain these numbers from different sides, I think that may be something that we do best once the pressure is off, either in manager meetings on Friday or in a separate set time or communications by email. I'm not sure that it would be productive to have them in at the budget meeting, because I think it looks like we're threatening to throw a wrench in things at the last minute.
I disagree with that. I think we've set the limit at $500,000. We just are trying to understand from them and have them explain directly, why they can't support our 24/7, 365 with the $500,000 that we've requested, and to get additional detail about how that Guilford County property tax credit, if it's applied, is applied or not. So I would again still make that a motion of our next budget meeting.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Okay. We want to vote? Is everybody in favor?
You clarified the motion, I'm sorry.
The motion is to effectively ask the sheriff or a designated representative of his department to come to our next budget work session to provide us with some explanation around why our $500,000 budget and information is not sufficient to meet their need. And then the second part of that was for them to provide some explanation around how they're applying our Guilford County property tax dollars for patrol support, in the sheriff's department. Again, and I go back to the point that the other towns that I mentioned, they are provided with 24/7, 365 response, not coverage, but response. And it's fully covered, you know, from a patrol perspective with the property taxes that they already pay to Guilford County.
Okay, I got
That's
you.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can vote.
Okay. Motion still on the floor, second. All in favor?
Was that,
Aye.
Aye.
we're, okay, aye.
Okay. Pam?
Aye.
And do we need to set the next date, Matthew?
Yes, that would be helpful. Right now, I'm looking at June the 4th, the 9th, or the 10th.
Say the sooner the better. The 4th is good for me.
I will not be in town the 9th or 10th.
4th's not good for Sarah.
You have a meeting on the 3rd already?
We have two meetings.
Matthew, this is
Potentially.
setting a date for the budget, so.
And we have possibly 2 meetings on the 3rd.
Yeah.
Would be helpful if maybe we looked at maybe the 9th. And I'm assuming that these would be, I don't know, there's just some discussion about having them during the day. I know that some of you have work schedules that are, you know, conflicting there. But is there an option to start a little bit earlier in the afternoon? The reason I say is if we're going to have the sheriff's department folks come here,
Yeah.
they probably don't want to come here in the evening. But
Yeah,
we can start
if it's the 4th, I can
4.
start earlier, but the 9th or 10th, I won't be in town, so
Yeah.
I'll just, you can meet without me.
You do the 4th? June the 4th?
4, 9, 10.
June the 4th, starting at 3 o'clock?
4 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
3 or 4.
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock's fine with me.
That'd be helpful just to be able to invite them during their working hours. 3 PM?
Yeah. Yes.
And that was June 9th.
We can
Preferably you,
make it.
Rob, since you've been involved in the conversation.
Was that June 4th?
June the 4th.
June the 4th,
3 o'clock.
Thursday,
3
3
PM
PM.
in this room. And we will, Rob and I will coordinate the invitations to the sheriff's department or their representatives. I know they, even though the sheriff's department is a standalone entity, they are tied to the county's budget, so they'll bring in their budget folks.
Okay.
I do need a motion to continue the public hearing, though.
Yep.
So why do we need to do that?
It's important.
Well, so but how's the hearing?
We had a public hearing tonight. Why do we need another public
It's
hearing? on
still
it?
open, unless you want to close it.
I don't see why we need another public hearing unless
Yeah.
my colleagues do.
Public hearing, budget.
Well,
It usually allows the public another opportunity to speak.
Do we usually keep it open?
Yeah.
To June?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We do
okay,
public
okay,
comments at the
okay.
meeting.
That's fine. Yeah, I didn't know that's what we usually do.
Yeah.
especially if we're going to make substantive changes to a budget, I would like, for
Okay.
transparency purposes, for the public to have a chance to speak on.
Yep, that's fine. I didn't realize that's what we usually do. I make a motion to continue what is it?
What's the phrasing of that?
Yeah, the
Public comment, what was it?
The public hearing.
the public hearing for the recommended 2026, 2027 fiscal year budget and CIP
And that happened.
to June
23rd.
3rd.
Town council meeting at
Town
6
council
PM.
meeting at 6 PM here in town council chambers, no further advertisement.
That's right. Thank you.
So the only question I have is, if we do make any additional changes to the budget message, will you all have sort of established the same kind of timeline to get the information out there publicly before that meeting?
That's one of the reasons I was looking to do it earlier in the month rather than later, so we can have an adequate amount of time. It takes almost a week to make real changes to this
Yeah.
budget. It's a tremendous
I'm
amount
just
of
saying,
effort.
with us continuing that, there's not really, I don't think, the same legal requirement to put the budget out there in advance. I mean, but that's my goal. I'd like to do it at least a
We
week in
don't have
advance
to
of that meeting.
re-advertise the meeting in the newspaper and that type of thing. We will make every effort to make that information available to the public at least a week before your meeting.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that-
my thing is more with the revised budget document, having that out there a week before.
Absolutely, we will definitely publish that at least, we'll try to get that out at least a week before, especially with it being a little bit earlier in the month. But we'll have to have some definitive direction on the 4th so that we can craft the final budget. Good?
Good.
Everybody
Good?
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty, thank you.
Okay.
All righty, new business,
Poor Scott.
Scott Coakley.
Didn't hear this whole time.
Thank you. Laser. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let's get my slide over here up.
$1974 projector screen.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk and just give you a small glimpse of what we've been doing out of the park. I know I get to tell y'all a lot and give you a lot of updates. But this, with the new playground, since it's opened up, we've been able to capture some data. And when I got this the other day, Jeff and I met with Game Time to go over some of this data, and I was intrigued. And we've told y'all it's been busy, and y'all have seen it's been really busy out there. But I don't. Some of these numbers will just blow you away and kind of put it in perspective. So, just to start, our new inclusive playground is a Game Time playground by Playcore. We worked with Cunningham Recreation, a distributor of Game Time, to design and install all the new equipment. The 7 principles of inclusive design, let me go back. Playcore literally wrote the book on inclusive play called The 7 Principles of Inclusive Playground Design. The 7 Principles of Inclusive Design is an evidence-based design that practices for creating environments that support play and recreation for all people and abilities. The 7 principles are: be fair, be included, be smart, be independent, be safe, be active, and be comfortable. All right. Whoops. Once these principles are met in your design, you can be considered a national demonstration site. We have been awarded as a national demonstration site. All right. Not only are we recognized as a national demonstration site for the 7 principles of inclusive design, but we're also on Play On, promoting physical activity. The purpose of Play On is to promote physical fitness through fun, well-designed outdoor play environments and creative playground learning activities. So my notes here say read the slide, but I can't see the slide. Sorry, y'all, sorry. The Playcourse Center of Outreach and Research and Education, which is CORE, uses research and advocacy to help build healthy communities through play and recreation. CORE and our data service lab developed the community vitality framework for an evidence-based approach grounded in comprehensive and validated research that organizes communities and the 7 indicators of a vital community. And those 7 indicators are social and emotional health, physical health and lifestyle behaviors, diversity, equity and inclusion, community engagement, public services, environment and education. Connecting the community vitality to the national demonstration site designations. By organizing these NDS designations and visitor feedback around the community vitality framework, you can become equipped to tell the unique story of our site's outcomes. So this brings us to the visitors' trends, and well, not quite our numbers yet, but our site is becoming an important community destination. In the 6 months since opening, the National Demonstration Site visitors have traveled from near and far to enjoy the site. This graphic shows the percentage of visitors by origin location, and the majority coming from within High Point.
How do you get that info? Scott. Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
No, you're fine.
I feel like it's-
So this is the impressive part. Our unique visitors are up 159%. And if you compare September of '24 through March of '25 to this current year, September '25 to March of 2026, total visits were up 246%.
Wow.
Where a little over a year ago, we were only having 8,000 people in that same time period. We're now at 28.4 thousand. So in the first 6 months of the playground and the basketball court being open, along with the nature trail and just the improvements we've done, we're at 28,000 total visits, which, I brought Jeff to correct me if I'm wrong with this thing tonight, and he can talk more if there's any questions about just what they're dealing with out there, and tonight's a whole nother story. But they're doing an amazing job, but they're having to spend a lot more time cleaning up and preparing for the day. The average length of stay is up. And the busiest week that we had was over 2,000 visits the week of October 6th of 2025. This graph shows, or this picture shows where they're at before they come to the park, and then where they go when they leave the park. And a big thing there is 61% of the people are planning on spending money while out. And so it has a direct impact on our area. So this was pretty interesting, exploring economic impact, what people are doing and what they're playing, or the different sports. So the activity levels are low to moderate intensity and inspire the national demonstration site space, like playing modern to high intensity, like baseball and basketball. And with 28,400 visits between September of 2025 and March 2026, that equates to an average health savings of over $6,000 to the people that frequent the park. $4,308 is for physical health, and another $1,768 is for mental health. This is just another framework, another slide showing you the framework and the different values. And these are in your packet, so you should have it. And we've spoken before about these QR codes. This is one of the QR codes that is currently on the playground. It helps us collect information, and the research is pretty clear that thoughtfully implementing the evidence-based design best practices outlined in the 7 principles of inclusive playground design, they positively impact the health and wellness. It saves money on insurance, it brings money to the community, and just wanted to give you this update to let y'all know some of this information. Touching base on your question, and we've demoed some of this software before. There is, we've just never been able to get it, but there is software out there that is based off cell phone pings and app usage in the area. We've done this before with Music in the Park and been able to find out at an 80s Nation concert, we've had over 5,000 people there, and they can tell you 58% of them have a college degree. Your community loves golf. And I said, well, it's funny, we have a golf course. And so
Big Brother is out there.
Oh, yeah, make sure one wear that aluminum foil hat.
Yes.
But just,
So did you go through the slide that has the quotes on it, the comments?
There was one
There
that-
was one in the
yeah.
packet. I mean, that was.
Obviously, maybe some of the parents might have scanned it, and it talks about, it gives like little quotes like, oh, we were here and my daughter really loved it, and, you know, it's in the packet.
Okay, I did not put that one in the
Okay.
slides.
But I was going to say that, you know, again, my experience with the park has been, it's always, you know, there's always so much life and family activity going on with that new park area. And just kudos to you and your team for, and the full town team for finding the grant money to build the park. And, you know, that's sort of one of those special places now for us, like the data supports it. It's become a destination, which is much more than just Jamestown. And when we do have opportunities there for people who are looking to spend money, again, I'll throw back out the idea of maybe some kind of a kiosk of sorts up there that can help sort of communicate about town events, communicate about town businesses. So if they're wanting to check us out, they've got an easy portal or access way to do that. So,
I think that's a great idea.
and there might be grant money out there for that too. So.
And Jeff, you have the notes from, Louise. And I'll let him touch on this, but just to give you another idea, so we've had we're up 250% on visitors just in the playground and park area. But this weekend was such a crazy weekend. We had the Civitanza Golf Tournament with 110 players registered, and they went off at 9 o'clock in the morning. We had both shelters rented all day, both days. We had baseball. We had a huge soccer tournament. And so I'm just really proud of the guys that are on the crew that never fear, I mean, they never run from the work or the challenges out there. But Jeff can share the numbers.
Just to add on a couple of things that Scott mentioned, and you mentioned, it truly is a destination park now. We have so many compliments that people come up the road, East Fork, and they go, it's Emerald City. That's what they see when they see the playground. So along with that too, we have other projects that we're still finishing. If you've been by there, we have actual 2 shelters that's being built now, one by the basketball court, one where our dog park is going to go. Once we get that completed, we can start moving on to actually completing our dog park, which will have items for large dogs and small dogs. We also are in the process of having sidewalks, connected sidewalks to all areas of the park, shelters to the playground, to the basketball court, and that's moving along. And then we have a volleyball court that will finalize meeting our requirement of our grant. And what Scott mentioned this past weekend was something unique, which you've had in the past. NC Fusion had a Piedmont tournament. It's called their Fusion Cup. And they actually had in the Piedmont area, they had over 427 teams. Jamestown Soccer Complex was one of 7 venues throughout the Piedmont area that they used to fulfill all the teams and the tournaments. Just in our park on Saturday and Sunday, and Sarah was out there to witness some of it, we had 48 games being played on Saturday and Sunday at our Jamestown complex. That was all day long. The Parks and Rec staff, we were there all day long monitoring to make sure that we take care of any parking issues, answer any questions to parents. Bathrooms, make sure they're clean. So I'm really proud of them being there and make sure the park was in tip-top shape throughout the whole weekend. What Scott did also mention, our shelter rentals was obviously increased because of the park. People want to be there. And we were completely booked both days at both shelters. And a lot of people, I think, Ragsdale had a band, end-of-the-year band thing too there. So that was pretty important that we take care, we're able to provide a facility for the local schools and stuff. One thing that we are starting to see from a decision that we did last year was Jamestown now is taking care of the Jamestown Elementary athletic fields. Over the past years, they kind of went down a little bit for upkeep and stuff. So we have spent, the Parks and Rec staff has spent a lot of time getting those fields up. Not only are we benefiting from them to be able to have soccer rentals out there and baseball, the elementary school has also complimented us on keeping it up where the kids can go out there, they can go out there and enjoy running around and not worry about potholes or the ground not being taken care of. So now we're seeing the advantage of actually taking care of that partnership, and we're just strengthening that with the school system. With that, we were able also to handle the YMCA recreation games that we wouldn't have in the past with this tournament taking our complex up. We were able to transition over there, mark off 3 athletic soccer fields for them, and we were able to have soccer games at that complex, soccer at our Jamestown complex, along with t-ball and baseball also being held on Saturday. So also along with a big golf tournament was out there. So that area this weekend was a tremendous amount of people out there enjoying our parks, which is good to see. And something I just thought about when Scott was talking about it. If you're ever having a bad day or you're stressed out, just come to our park, witness the interactions of the kids playing and the parents and the grandparents and the dads playing basketball out there and taking care. It will put a smile on your face, and every time we go out there and we see the park field, it really puts a smile on our face to really see that, you know, the hard work that Rebecca did of getting the grants and the Parks and Recs Committee, the former council members and stuff, that it is truly the future of putting time in that and making those decisions to do stuff. It's really showing. So it's something I'm very proud to be part of. And so that's something I just wanted to recognize them for the hard work and stuff that they did to leading up to this. And we're still not done. We still have some work to do, but the future is definitely bright for the Parks and Rec.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome.
You guys are certainly making, if anybody in this whole community or this whole group of folks is making Jamestown a great place to be, you guys are certainly at the forefront of that, because I go by there all the time, and even if there's no shelters rented, it looks like a Jones or Smith family reunion out at the playground. Because there's just so many
It is.
people
It's
out
truly
there.
unique to see.
It's
great.
amazing to see, but thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you.
And I want to thank, too, Rebecca and Faith. You know, the behind-the-scenes folks often people don't know what's happening. And so they worked, I know, really hard on the grant. And I want to thank our previous council as well, who made it happen with Rebecca and Faith's support. So it's, because these are the things that really make the town, you know, these are the things that people see that make the town better. Do you know what I mean? So, and a place to want to live. Again, poor Paul Blanchard gets all the boring stuff of the pipes under the ground and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, does anyone else have new business? I have something I'd like to, well, no, I'll say that for other business. All right, public comment, I guess. Do we have any more public comments? No, all righty, now, other business. I know earlier this evening we had removed, some of you may have seen or maybe not, there was an item on the agenda for the, regarding a FEMA floodplain map update request that was going to expire in June, and this was for the National Flood Insurance Program. And it's an update of the maps that's been going on. I think somebody wrote me about it today also and said it initially began in 2009, were the first meetings, and has been in process all this time. I know I went to a public meeting in 2023, and I remember seeing Paul sitting there at the table, I think, at this one. But anyway, we got that extended to August 21st because of the government shutdown. And so this is a particular, it's a big deal in my neighborhood because our flooding is still gets worse and worse with each big rain. And this all kind of happened real fast. There's a lot to go through, but would it be possible to consider having an informational meeting? Because I'd kind of like to know more about the history of this and some of these. I know that there's some help we can get in looking at the flood areas in town and having the maps updated before the deadline. So just put that out there and maybe we can think about.
Is there somebody out there that can come give us like an informational briefing on the request and what we're being asked to approve?
I know Jose has been looking over everything, and he'll be prepared to speak with you guys more about it at the coming council meetings, but.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll try to get that together for a briefing, to get
Okay.
some more information. I looked at Paul to see if he knew anybody off the top of his head. These come from FEMA.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I don't know that we've ever had a FEMA representative come and speak, but we will see if we can find somebody.
I think I actually can. This one guy seems very interested well, he's with the state NFIP. I don't know, but anyway, that'd be great. Thank you. Let's keep that one out there. The other thing is that there's a D.R. Horton public notice for comments on their 401 certification application for water quality. And I think people have until June 6th to submit comments on that, which is all about how Bull Run gets impacted by, you know, the runoff for construction and conveyance. Again, it's the application's out there. We posted it. I did on my site. And it's just, I just thought that was interesting to see that out there. And with that said, any other business, any comments anyone wants to make? If not,
I'll make a motion
there we
to
go.
go into closed session per GS General Statute 143318 to discuss a matter related to attorney-client privilege. Case number 26CV010668-400 and a personnel matter.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty.
Aye. Aye.
Madam Mayor, make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.